Hey, everybody, good afternoon. It's Todd Caputo here, episode 5, and I've got two people on for this episode, not just one. I got Scott Trainor here and Justin Silver from the company Check My Driver. And Scott, you and I have known each other, what, about a year?
About a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We ran into each other, met at a trade show, and I like to talk to everybody, especially when they're working for cool companies that really solve things for car dealers that I think make sense. And Scott reached out to me maybe, I don't know, about a month or two ago and said, look, I just went to this new really cool company and they have a great product and I wanted you to know about it. And he sent me the deck. I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. We gotta talk about this online. I don't like to waste people's time, like with stuff that doesn't make sense for car dealers or people in auto, but I think this makes a ton of sense. And before I go any further, just so we're clear, right? Like, you're not paying me to be here. I'm not getting a piece if
No,
we're not doing any of that, right? Like that's
we're not doing
I just
any
want
of
everybody
that.
to know that, right?
No,
Yeah,
we're doing it for the industry.
Doing it for the industry. That's why I do it. That being said, Scott, tell me a little bit about you. Tell the audience a little about you, and then Justin, if you could do the same, that would be great. Maybe we should go in the other order since he's the co-founder, but we're gonna go with Scott anyways.
That's fine.
Awesome. Well, Todd, you and I are in the, we've been in the same circle for a while, so I'm sure a lot of people and your viewers know my story. Been in automotive pretty much my whole life. 19 years old, I was selling Toyotas up in Canada. Finished in dealerships. I was managing Canada's largest Mercedes-Benz dealer. Moved down to the States on a certain venture. Things progressed. Was in the AI field for a bit. And then I was offered this opportunity to work with Justin and the other co-founder, Fred, to bring this whole new technology that hasn't been in automotive as a solution. So I'm now running the automotive division of Modives called Check My Driver.
That's really cool. Awesome. Justin, how about you, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. My background starts in the insurance industry, and Check My Driver. What it does is verify insurance, and so that's kind of how how my story connects in here is through the insurance angle. But I was an insurance agent and producer for a long time, and then moved into enterprise software, always in insurance. And when Fred and I linked up to go do this. We call it an insurtech, but really it's the first time in my career where we're offering a solution where my customers that I'm servicing aren't actually insurance entities. They're actually folks that engage in the insurance industry through other channels, other means, or have other concerns related to it. So I run the operations for Modives, which basically means anything cross-functional across our business. But as the co-founder, working with Scott, and been so thrilled to have Scott join. He's brought a wealth and depth of dealer knowledge into the business, which has been doing us a lot of good.
So how long has Modives been in business?
So Modives has been in business almost 2 years. We just launched the Check My Driver product at the NADA conference here a few months ago. But we do have a product in property called Check My Resident, which does the exact same thing, but for property owners and landlords to check renters, make sure they have insurance in a very similar way. So company's been around for that long. We're being pretty well received so far in auto and making a lot of traction. And we're super, super grateful to get a chance to talk here on your to your audience.
Yeah. So, one of the reasons why I'm doing these podcasts, right, is it is very difficult for automotive vendors to get in front of dealers, especially at NADA or even at other smaller trade shows, because there's just NADA, there's vendors everywhere, right? There's a lot going on. There's social gatherings. It's expensive to set up a booth, really expensive to set up a booth. So I really thought that this was a good way to educate dealers about products that were meaningful for people that, for vendors maybe that are startups like you guys, right? That, it's pricey, right? And you got to sign up a lot of dealers. You got to keep them for a while in order to actually even pay for the booth, plus the expense of going there. And that's the main reason why I'm doing this. And the other reason why I'm doing it too, and why I wanted to bring you guys on, is I think like you solve a problem at a car dealership that exists every single day. When people commit to buying the car, they have to have insurance, right? And it really is just, I hate to say it, it's a pain in the ass, right? The insurance part of verifying the insurance, getting a copy of the insurance card is a pain in the ass, especially on holidays when insurance people don't work, on Saturdays when they don't work, and not every customer out there deals with a Progressive or some of these other large companies. Some of them are small agents that they need to deal with, and they can't get a hold of them in a lot of cases. So, I mean, I remember my days being a dealer and just people sitting around the showroom and they just want to get their car and get out. Their kids are running around. They're trying to give them candy. They're just doing whatever they got to do just to take the car to leave. And the insurance part was always like a real hang up. So I'm guessing that's the why. Is that why you guys did this? Or is there another reason that I'm not keying in on?
Yeah, well, so you hit the why right on the head. There are some other concerns that dealers have that are bringing them to us, or that are resonating, that as we educate them on what we do, because they know old habits die hard. They know what they know, and to your point, getting the word out and education is critical, especially for something new. But yeah, time savings. I mean, with our product, you can give 15 to 30 minutes back to your dealership staff and really to the customer that's sitting there, and have that time be better spent rather than on the phone trying to verify or going back and forth with an agent or a carrier. Spending time guiding and consulting with and developing rapport and relationship with that customer, and making sure that you're getting the right fit, and quite frankly, maybe even spend time through that reduction, reducing the frustration, and discussing with them other products that you could offer them, that will increase the overall upsell or whatever, to the dealership. So that's one of the big pieces, right? This frustration is where we got our start. That was the inspiration. It's like, man, this process as a consumer is so painful. Again, we weren't auto dealer guys. Our CEO Fred shares the story. He's just sitting there. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then he's like, I'm handing you an ID card, which is a piece of paper I printed 3 months ago. And he's like, that piece of paper means nothing. It was a point in time document. I could have canceled at any point in time, and you have no idea. So you have to make a call. So that must be where you disappeared to.
Or it could be a fake.
Even worse. So synthetic fraud. So that goes to some of these other things that are happening. Synthetic fraud and fraud in general are on the rise. And so this is another stopgap, together with the ID verification, which we're coming out with later this month. Together, because the insurance ID card together with the license are either asked very close currently together or at the same time. And if they're separate, it's because just that's how processes are. In general, they should be really together. And so we'll have both sides of that equation. But at a minimum, we provide another check, the likelihood that someone has built up an insurance profile, a DMV profile, a loss history, a clue, what they call it in the insurance world, profile, that you're going to get through actually purchasing an auto insurance policy. Being a fraudster adds just another level. And so the way we do our verification, by connecting directly to the insurance companies, proves that you actually have an insurance policy. You, the person standing there, has an insurance policy with the carrier that you claim. And then the last piece of that is not just fraud on that side, but also the FTC compliance, where now you have to protect and safeguard the customer PII data. And that's been one of the other mega trends that's kind of driving the need.
So it was Fred's idea.
Yeah, it was Fred's original idea. It was spawned based on the frustration in the car buying process.
He's sitting in the showroom at a dealership, experiencing exactly what I just talked about. And he's a tech guy, and he's like, there's got to be a better way.
He couldn't believe it. So, and he didn't use these words. I'll give the credit to one of my other colleagues, our chief revenue officer, who sat there and said, do people walk into the dealership and bring their own credit report with them? Right? Yet they're walking in and handing you a piece of paper that says they have insurance. And by the way, usually it's an ID card, and that ID card doesn't have coverage on it. So if in purchasing of a car, if you're leasing or financing, the ID card doesn't have enough information. So
not even close.
Right? So now you're already handing there were just so many holes that all of a sudden started to, like, the light bulb started going off, and we're just like, the traditional. There's got to be a better way, and we endeavored to go down this path.
So when did you build this software, and how have you rolled it out? How many dealers are using it, and then how does it work?
Yeah, so at a high level, the software, we started down the path of building this thing even before we opened our doors. Fred and I, we're serial entrepreneurs. We built other insurance technology companies combined. We've built and exited 4 companies in insurance technology, and so we have people that have been with us and continue to kind of come with us through. So we got our start a couple years before we actually opened our doors, and so. The launch again happened in auto in February, and then since then, so now we're signing up dealers. Our total customer count is not public information at this point as a private company, but we're seeing a lot of traction both in franchise, in the purchase, and in service, where they're giving out the loaners. That's the other frustration that came about. And this was something when Fred told me the idea, I'm like, oh my God, I went to the dealership and they asked me for my deck page because the car that I had was older than a certain year. I think it was 2016. And they said, no, well, I got to confirm because people who have an older car might not have full coverage and potentially have lower liability limits. And they were like, I want a deck page, not an ID card. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, so we're seeing it in those couple places. And then in the independent space, we're also seeing quite a bit of traction as well. And finance companies tied to automotive because they have to monitor the cars. And that's one of the other features that we've built is the ability to monitor that your insurance remains active and what we call adequate. You have the right coverage over the term of your finance lease or, whatever other transaction,
I didn't even think of that in the service department with a loaner car, right? You got to provide insurance if you're going to get a loaner, and you're just giving people a card. Who knows if the card is real? Who knows if their insurance is actually valid? I never even thought of that.
But some dealers even have the procedure where the advisor has to call and verify that insurance. Now you're taking an advisor's valuable time to call, or their loaner manager to call and verify that.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't even do it.
Yeah, Todd, up front, let's just say they're better about calling up front, but let's just call it not great. On the other, and we've seen instances where they're signing the spot sheet with an attestation that they have confirmed, and we know that that it's not always the case.
They're just trying to roll cars down the road.
And we understand that, and we're trying to help them do that, right? And then on the service side, they're not making the phone call generally. And so what you said is exactly what we're seeing. And the response back, and this is where some education comes in, is that, our garage policy covers us. Right. And while that may be true, they also have an obligation to check insurance because, one of my little isms is why bother then? Why even ask? Well, you can remove friction instantly by just stop asking. Right. They don't have to wait anymore. You're asking for a reason. And the reason is these insurance companies want you to do that because it is a risk mitigation measure. You're protecting your business. Insurance shouldn't be your forefront. Say, well, I have insurance, so I could just, set a fire, light a bonfire.
It doesn't mean you can be. It doesn't mean you can be lax in your processes just because you have insurance. Because as a dealer, every time you have some kind of loss, it's real simple. Your rates go up, or you get canceled.
And Todd, right now, for folks that are looking at, expense reductions or any ways to save money or whatever else, and the economic climate, insurance rates are on the rise, regardless of your individual loss. The entire industry is driving premiums. The economy is driving premiums. The everything that happened coming out of COVID, parts, the market, conditions, all these things are driving increased costs, which are driving increased premiums. Mm-hmm. And so we're working as insurance folks by backbone, Fred and I, we're also working with brokers and insurance carriers that provide these garage policies and other insurances to dealers. And they are saying to us, and we're working on a strategic relationship that I'll put a plug, come out soon, that are willing to offer discounts on the garage policy for plugging this solution in as a risk mitigation, much like you get a discount for central station alarm on your home or having a water cutoff sensor in your home. Same kind of thing, because what they know is, just like, they know that you're taking better protection. And so they can give you credit for that upfront and saying, hey, we know we're using this thing. We'll give you some benefits.
You're mitigating risk.
Mitigating risk, exactly.
Yeah, you're mitigating, makes total sense. So, all right, walk me through how it works. You want to do it on the deck, or you want to talk? How do you want to do it?
The the picture speaks 1,000 words. So Scott, if you want to pull that up, they're abstract-ish versions of the actual application, because we're not doing a demo here today, but it will explain the process, because it is, as we'll say, and we'll see on the slide, for the consumer, as simple as 1, 2, 3. You say. So it's I don't know if you can get that up on the screen.
I'm pulling it up.
There we go. Here we go. There it is. Here we go.
Yep. So the basic process is simple. So you can engage into this in many different ways. If you're in service, you might scan a QR code, or the service advisor, if it's one of the systems we're integrated to, you can click a button in the DMS. You can initiate. It could be
what integrations do you have with dealers so far? Like with DMS or CRM? Which ones?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of them in the pipeline right now. We just finished our integration with Dealer Built, and we're working on a number of others coming out. We plan to be in CRM systems, DMS systems, and service systems. A whole handful of them here in the next few months.
If you're not, so customer scans a QR code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, that's easy enough. You don't have to have it. I don't think integration is life or death, to be quite honest with you.
Not on the front. So that's the beauty of this. On the front, the initiation can be by the customer. So you can send them a text, trigger a verification from our platform on a standalone basis by clicking a button, putting their name and cell phone number or email in, and they can onboard that way, or they can scan the QR code, or if they're scheduling a service or a test drive, that link could come to them and include, hey, know before you arrive, right? Click this button to verify, your license and your insurance.
Yeah.
And then the consumer would get what you see here. Basically, hey, right? I'm John Smith. Tell me who your insurance company is. Okay. So I pick my insurance company. I enter my username and password. I hit verify, and I get my results, and the dealer gets the results instantly.
So I see 4 names listed. I'm assuming there's more.
Oh yeah. So we have 95% market coverage of all insurance in the automobile insurance in the United States.
Okay.
And at the end of the year, we'll have 99% coverage. We do have a complete total solution for the market for an instance where we don't have, and it's not common, but where someone comes in that outer limits. We do have a process that allows them to snap a photo front and back of the ID card, and we will call the insurance company and make the verification for them, directly and handle that. However, as that comes in, each time we see one of these edge cases come in, we work diligently to make sure that gap is filled, so that that's not an ongoing thing. We are incentivized to help you, the dealer, not have to have that, because as you know, as we said before, that phone call takes more time than what this process is instant. It takes less than 30 seconds. They click the verify button, it goes out, it talks to the respective insurance company, and it sends back a few things. The status of the policy, is it active? Is it canceled? Is it pending cancel, right? It tells you all the dates of the policy or whatever, if you care from a service standpoint, that it doesn't expire during the term of the loaner, right? There's all kinds of things that it will tell you depending on the transaction you're in. But it also tells you if I'm doing a lease or finance and I have, let's say, a 100, 300 limit requirement, it compares that to the policy. So you don't have to look at the deck page, know what each deck page looks like, figure out what it's telling me, decipher the insurance coverages, the limits, the deductibles, the comp, the collision, all this stuff. You have to worry about any of that. The system just comes back and says, this is what you're required to have. This is what you have. Green, 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 or not, right? And so it does the work for you so that you don't have to analyze that nor call the insurance company and make any discern. Now, where the integration comes back in is now that information is there and the dealer has it for audit purposes.
Yeah, that was my next question.
What happens next, right? For the integration, what we're working on is dumping that into the DMS system's digital deal jackets so that they never have to print it out. We have seen some instances where they're coming through this process and then they're going and printing out the information. It's like, well, now you're back to paper, which now it's very difficult to protect that paper from an FTC standpoint. So From our perspective, our solution end to end is completely digitally safe and secure and compliant for the FTC regulations. But for their records, again, old habits die hard, and our recommendation is you don't need to print it out, but let's say you need to get it to the finance company or you need to get it to another constituent. We provide the means to do that, but our recommendation would be to send a digital secure email, or better yet, pump it into your dealer management system, and then work your process from there.
Got it. So you can pump it into Digital Deal Jacket and CDK. Maybe what about like Route One and Dealer Track?
Yeah, so we're working to integrate as fast as possible into as many places as we possibly can. Our customers are what's driving our prioritization of that.
Yeah.
So yes, we would love to work with CDK and Dealer Track, but we focused on a couple other systems right now. First, because that's where our customers are driving us.
So any thoughts of you going outside of auto? Like, I'm just thinking out loud, like RVs, boats, power sports, things like that. Are you looking at that too, or no?
There are, so the interesting thing about this business has been, like I mentioned, we have the property side, so we do rental for apartments. And so the questions come up over there and in auto, where else can this apply? And so it does apply in many other places. Right now, what I say, the subject of insurance, meaning the thing I'm assessing from the insurance company, is a personal automobile policy. So if there's often watercraft policies or motorcycle policies or whatever else, but anything that would end up on a automobile policy, including an RV, which it would, would be in scope for us. But in terms of auto as a broader industry, remember we said loaners, rentals, rental cars within dealership context brings you into the rental car market, the rental truck market. You go to Home Depot, Lowe's, you go to these different kinds of places, right? But the same thing for the gig economy. If I'm an Uber, DoorDash, Grubhub, Spark driver, these companies have to verify and monitor that you maintain insurance. And I'll tell you, what they do is not monitoring. They work what's called the expiration date. I send you my policy, and at best they have the expiration date flagged as task to say, hey, I'm X days out for my expiration, right? I need to follow up and ask for new proof. That, assuming that proof, we already just talked about that document might not actually be real or might not actually be current anymore. But leaving that aside for a second, tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, I need to make sure and not wait till the end of the term, 6 months in the case of auto or a year, depending on the policy, to wait to the end to ask you again. I have a blind spot for roughly minimum 6 months of the year.
So what happens if for some reason they say they have coverage, but they don't? Something comes up in the app or on the screen, or like, what do you do?
Yeah, I have another I can share with you guys as well.
Which throw it up there. Let's check it out.
Which is essentially the dashboard that the dealer would have. And let me just pull that up for you all. Because when we were talking about integrations, meaning that we don't need to have an integrated system, this would be your dealer dashboard. So you're going to be able to view all of the verifications that went out, the adequacy, how many of them came back adequate, how many of them came back inadequate, how many are you still waiting for review, authorizing, you guys can see the screen, links that are sent, pending signups complete. And at that point, you're going to be able to narrow it down and actually monitor everybody that's going on, making sure that they are active and adequate. So you're going to be able to go by case type, whether it's cash purchase, lease, loaner, rental, finance, so on and so forth, or you can filter by their adequacy status. Now, when it comes time to monitoring, and somebody does fall inadequate, we are alerting the dealership about that and alerting the customer, because we wanted to provide a better experience for the customer and the dealership as well to remediate the situation. So when we're doing the monitoring, we will actually notify the customer, say, hey, you are now out of the compliance or the parameters that the dealership has allowed, or you have now lapsed or canceled your insurance, please provide an updated insurance policy or log in to prove the active insurance. And so we allow them that time to remediate, but we are allowing the dealership, letting the dealership know at the same time if they want to jump in and do an additional phone call, but we're trying to middleman that process.
Well, to me, this makes complete sense, and it's simple, looks relatively easy. What's it cost?
Go ahead, Scott.
Yep. So when we're looking
Hey,
at,
you're the sales guy, Scott. Come on. Now's your big chance.
so when we're looking at the initial verification, we are looking $5.99 per transaction. Now, we do have different plans and packages, obviously, that come with volume and different membership tiers that are there, but that is the standard pricing.
So $5.99 a pull, let's call it, right?
$5.99, yeah.
$5.99 a pull. You can work out a deal for volume. Month to month, is there committed amount of time, or is it a month-to-month contract?
So we do go on a year-long agreement, but it's a 30-day out. It's a simple 30-day out. There's no setup fees. There's no software fees either. So most of the franchise stores are choosing to go on plans, kind of like a cell phone plan. You're this many pulls a month. If you go over, well, here's your overages. But that way they have peace of mind and they're not worried every time they press the button. So we customize the package based on their needs, and then they're hitting it all the time.
Gotcha. And you can't say how many deals you have so far, or you don't want to say, or
we just haven't published that information. Where there's a lot of interesting things going on in the space, and as a young company, we're making a lot of headway. We just have not published that information, and Todd, respect that, not putting that out quite yet.
okay.
But I'd love to break that news at a later point in time with you if you're open to it.
We can definitely do that, of course. That's good.
Well, we'll give you the inside scoop first, Todd.
All right. Anything else that we missed or you wanted to add, or any questions that I maybe should have asked you? I think we covered pretty much all of it. So I like this. It's simple. It makes sense. There's a why, and it's simple.
Yeah, it's so simple to use. I think the big thing out there from an education standpoint, if I just to kind of tie it all up in a bow, is that people are trying to reduce friction. We talked about a number of different friction points, whether that's for the consumer themselves or the dealership personnel. It's all about removing friction. And from an education standpoint, one of the things, and you talked about it, and as a former dealership person, you knew it and you spoke to it. But what we hear is, in some cases, that is it more friction than what's currently happening? And our belief in what we're hearing back from our customers that are actually open-minded and going and giving it a go, and you starting to use it, is that it is less friction than the friction. There's less friction for you, the dealer. Well, it saves you 15 to 30 minutes minimum if you're making the call, right? Minimum. While it's pushing the work to the consumer to do the actual verification, in a sense, it's actually less friction than making them go out to their glove box, go back and forth, get the wrong one, right? Potentially not having all this stuff, waiting around you.
Just getting in their car and leaving because they got scared and don't want to buy a car.
Yeah.
And anybody out there that sold cars before, I guarantee that's happened to you once or twice in your career. They go to the car to get the insurance card, and also, they never came back in.
Exactly.
Well, so Todd, I'll give you one other nugget that we're working towards here, and this is something a little newer, but the beauty about doing this process, right, and something that they don't get, and they're not leveraging efficiently right now, that they get when they use this, in addition to less friction, is the data that comes back from them is like what we call an append. So think about to their lead. So the person is a lead coming in. They've not bought a car yet. They may know them. They may be already a customer. They may be a new person. But what they get back and presented to them in that screen that Scott showed you is every vehicle and driver in their household, what their name is, what their date of birth is, right? What their drivers, they get the driver's license numbers, if available from that particular insurance company.
Oh.
The year, make, and model of the vehicles that are currently sitting in the home, and generally what's rated as the usage. Are they using it for pleasure, whatever? So think about knowing your customer and being able to provide better service or to structure your deal. I know as a consumer how many times they try asking me about what cars I have at home, and I don't want to tell them till later in the deal because I think that they're just trying to figure out a way to,
Yeah.
to bake that in the deal and lose me in the numbers associated with that particular part of the process. And I get it. And so I don't want to tell them. I say, don't worry about that. That's later, whether I want to trade it or not. But guess what? Now, one, they'll know in advance. And it takes that friction away from that conversation. I get agita when they ask me that question, and this takes it away. So now they could already know, and they can be tailoring. So Mr. Silver, will you be trading in, your Honda Accord or the minivan? Is that something that you're considering? The minivan's got, you've had for this long, or is this year, right? Think about the conversation shift that happens when I know this information before they walk in or right away as they're, the conversation's starting.
Yeah, and then you could also,
Yeah.
you could use that like to market to them later on too.
Exactly, and that's the thing, exactly. And so that we have not even yet fully like unleashed the value of that to the dealer community, but it's something that we are talking to them about. We have to justify our existence when they're looking at a price, because today they're like, hey, I have my staff, I got to buy something new that I don't have. It's a new piece of software or whatever, or I'm already paying my sales folks and I got 5 guys in the store, gals in the store, and they're already there. They're making the calls. We've heard that. It's like, well, they're making it. I'm already paying them. And so this is extra no matter how you want to do it. And it's like, well, think about your customer. And now think about what this enables you to do with your customer, and then what the value is to as a potential lead for all the other vehicles and drivers in the home that you could now be marketing to for all kinds of things. Warranty.
And that helps. I think that'll help swallow the $5.99 a pole, because that can get expensive. I mean, I was looking at my phone a couple of minutes ago. I was doing some math. I mean, you get a store that sells 150 cars a month. That's $900 a month. Plus, they got a rental car department, and they're renting I don't know how many cars a day. You're talking $2-3 grand a month, if not more, in a lot of cases. That can get pricey for a smaller deal. For big stores, it's probably not a big deal, right? But for a smaller store, and I believe truly, like, I think every dealership should probably actually have this. And to me, it makes a ton of sense. I'm not just saying it just because you guys are here, but I mean, to me, it makes all the sense in the world to have a product like this. Hands down, it saves a ton of time, and I think there's ways to justify the cost. But if you have access to this other data too, that if you're a smart marketer and you're just smart at selling in general, and you can use that data, that makes it even more valuable. I agree.
Imagine how many times let's say a guest comes in with a Jeep Wrangler at a Toyota store. Oh, but all of a sudden now you found out that the husband or wife has a Toyota Camry on a policy. Oh, there's a loyalty rebate. But if that guest didn't divulge it to you, there's a lot you can do with that data. And just to touch on your point of the volume, a dealer like that has a big loaner department and does that many vehicles, they're obviously falling into a different category of pricing. So I know you did your math quick on that.
So there's room in the price is what you're trying to tell me here.
Yes, but also there's a stacking effect. There is, but there's also a stacking effect to both the value equation, in terms of the benefit, the time savings. 15 to 30 minutes cost the dealer at a normal salesperson salary or service person that's at that desk salary to make a phone call. If they're not making the phone call, they should be. If they're not making it and they aren't, right, and they're attesting that they have, they're opening up liability. Just because they haven't had a loss or haven't been hit doesn't mean that it's not coming. The FTC is cracking down. You've got this compliance. Those violations are about 15 grand per incident. So in a day, think about how many incidents potentially occur. You stack these things on, and all of a sudden, $5.99 is not that much money. And again, at volume, the price comes down anyway. So.
I agree, and you can solve for it in 2 seconds with a pack or something, so it's not a big deal. It makes all the sense in the world. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's a great product. If I still own dealerships, I would definitely have it in my stores, and any of the dealerships that I work with that are my clients. I'm going to basically, honestly, I'll just share this video with them because this is the demo right here. So this has been great. I appreciate you guys' time today. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this was helpful to the audience that's going to see it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And I'm going to I'll send this to you guys so you can share it amongst your circle of people and connections. And I wish you all the best. I love seeing startups, and I love seeing smart things. And I think this is one of them. Congrats to you guys. You solved another problem in the car business of where there's plenty of problems, you solved another one. Congrats.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
I appreciate you.
All right, you guys. Take
All right,
care.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.